All right, welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Ready to go?
Today, we're looking at a really interesting collection of articles, all from November 13th and 14th, 2024.
Oh, wow. Very recent.
Yeah, super recent. We've got Tagesschau.dd,
Okay.
The Guardian,
Good.
Fox News, and,
Interesting mix.
yeah,
Yes.
ABC7, Los Angeles.
Wow. Local news.
Yeah. And you know, what's so interesting about all these is they kind of paint this picture of a world that's like in transition, right?
Decisions.
Yeah, like politically here in the U.S.
Okay.
and like environmentally, we're going to talk about Spain.
Oh.
So get ready. It's going to be a wild ride.
I'm excited.
Okay, so first up, Donald Trump, back in the White House.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he won the 2024 election.
Seriously. After everything that's happened,
I know, right? It's pretty crazy.
that's huge.
Yeah, especially thinking back to 2021 and, everything since.
Absolutely. I mean, a former president returning to office after a defeat, that's,
Unprecedented.
yeah, totally unprecedented.
Totally. And it gets even weirder.
Weirder. Oh.
So Tagesschau.de, they're reporting on Biden welcoming Trump back to the White House, and he was like smiling and shaking his hand.
Smiling. Right.
Yeah, even cracking jokes.
Wow. Social media must be having a field day with that.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's got a theory about what it means.
I bet. It's definitely not how Trump handled things back in 2016.
Oh, totally different. Remember, he wouldn't even meet with Obama at the White House.
Yeah, and skipped Biden's inauguration, too.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, what's Biden's game here? Is he trying to send a message? Or is he just a really good sport?
Well, Fox News is definitely reading into it.
Oh, I can imagine.
They're saying things like, see, Biden wasn't really that upset about losing.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, and even some are like, maybe he even voted for Trump.
Okay, that's a stretch.
I know, it's a lot.
It is, but it's worth noting these reactions, right? It really shows how divided the country is.
Absolutely.
And this election.
Yeah.
It just made it worse.
For sure. But regardless of how Biden feels, him being all, cordial with Trump, it kind of sends a message, right, to the world.
Totally. A message about stability.
Yeah, like, hey, American democracy, it's still functioning.
Exactly. A peaceful transfer of power. It's a cornerstone of any democracy.
Exactly. But let's be real, Trump's back. And the Republicans, they control Congress, House and Senate.
That's a lot of power for one party.
It is. What do you think happens next? What are they going to do with all that power?
Well, we know Trump, right? He likes to do things his way.
Definitely.
So there's a good chance he'll just push his agenda through without much cooperation.
Okay, and what about foreign policy? I mean, The Guardian has this really disturbing article about the conflict in Gaza.
Oh, right. The accusations against Israel.
Yeah, Human Rights Watch is saying they're committing crimes against humanity because of how they're displacing Palestinians.
It's a heavy accusation, for sure.
Yeah, and The Guardian goes into detail about the legal framework around forced displacement, and it gets complicated.
Oh, definitely complicated.
Like, there are these rules in the Geneva Conventions about evacuations for imperative military reasons, but...
Right, but Human Rights Watch is arguing that Israel's actions are way beyond that.
Exactly. They're saying Israel is using evacuations as a way to force Palestinian civilians out.
Which, if true, is a major violation of international law.
And the situation in Gaza is just heartbreaking. Over 90% of the population has been displaced, something like 1.9 million people.
It's a humanitarian crisis.
And the article mentions that much of Gaza has been destroyed over the past 13 months of fighting.
This conflict has been going on for so long.
It has, and it just keeps getting worse.
And these accusations of crimes against humanity, those are going to have serious consequences for Israel on the world stage.
For sure. Okay, let's shift gears for a second, talk about what's happening in Spain.
Okay.
Tagesschau.de is reporting on these really bad floods.
Floods.
Yeah, and it's just 2 weeks after that other massive flood that killed over 220 people.
Oh, wow. Back to back.
Yeah. The article talks about how everyone's on edge waiting for the next downpour.
I can't even imagine the anxiety.
Right. One woman even said, every drop of water means fear.
That's just heartbreaking.
It is. And it makes you wonder, is this just bad luck? Or is there something bigger going on?
Like what?
Well, climate change and extreme weather events. We hear about it all the time, but...
Are you thinking these floods might be connected to that?
Exactly.
It's definitely something to consider.
It is. I mean, we have a president returning to power under these unusual circumstances, a major international conflict with accusations of war crimes, and then these devastating floods. What does it all mean?
It's like we're at this crossroads.
Yeah.
Political, social, environmental, it's all changing so rapidly.
Yeah, it's a lot to wrap our heads around.
It is. But that's what we're here for, right? To dig deeper, to try to understand what's happening and why it matters.
Exactly. And I think this is just the beginning. I have a feeling there's a lot more to uncover here.
There always is. You know, it's fascinating, all these stories.
Yeah.
As different as they seem,
Yeah.
they kind of point to a world that's like grappling with transitions, big transitions.
Yeah.
Like in the U.S., we're looking at political transitions,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And then you see the forced transitions of the Palestinians in Gaza.
Yeah.
And then you look at what's happening in Spain, and it's like, are we looking at a world in environmental transition too?
Totally.
Like, are we transitioning into this climate-changed world?
Right.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
So, okay, Trump,
Okay.
back in the White House.
Well,
Republicans control Congress.
right. Right.
How do you see this all playing out? Like, what are we going to see actually change?
Well, I mean, if we look at what Trump did during his first term,
Yeah.
and you look at what the Republicans are saying now,
Right.
there's a good chance we're going to see some environmental regulations rolled back.
Okay.
Possibly a shift toward a more isolationist foreign policy.
Okay.
And maybe even more restrictions on immigration. I mean, those are just a few things that could be on the table.
Yeah, I mean, that would be huge, right?
Yeah.
Like a huge impact on people's lives.
Absolutely.
And it makes me think about like that Fox News article and everyone freaking out about Biden smiling.
Right.
I mean, do you think there's any chance of like bipartisanship, or are we just going to see even deeper political divides?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so polarized right now.
Yeah.
Even something like Biden being nice to Trump, it just gets twisted, you know?
Yeah.
So it's tough to say what'll happen.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's important to remember that the U.S. isn't just one big blob, right?
Right.
Like, there are different perspectives within each party.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see some alliances that we wouldn't expect. You never know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's easy to fall into that us versus them thing,
Yeah,
but it's way more nuanced than that.
for sure. For sure.
Speaking of nuance,
Okay.
Gaza,
Yeah.
serious accusation.
Incredibly serious.
But like we were saying,
Yeah.
this whole legal framework around forced displacement,
Right.
it's a mess.
It's really complicated.
It is. And, you know, we have to consider Israel's side of it too, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what are they saying?
Well, they say they're acting in self-defense against Hamas,
Okay.
which, I mean, a lot of countries consider Hamas a terrorist organization.
Right.
They say that they have to evacuate people to protect them
Okay.
and to be able to target Hamas fighters and their infrastructure.
Okay, but
Yeah.
Human Rights Watch is saying that these evacuations are causing even more problems.
Right.
And that Israel hasn't really shown that it's absolutely necessary to force all these people from their homes.
Yeah, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it really necessary?
Right.
Is it proportional to the actual threat?
Right.
I mean, it's a tough one.
It is. So
Yeah.
how do we figure this out?
I mean, that's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have to look at everything, right? Like, what's the evidence? What are the motivations?
Yeah.
I mean, there are multiple truths in these situations.
It's hard, though.
It is.
I feel like we're constantly just bombarded with information.
You are, everyone is.
It's like, how do you even know what to believe anymore?
Well, that's why it's so important to think critically,
Yeah.
be discerning about your sources, you know?
Yeah, totally. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Spain,
Yeah.
you were saying,
Yeah.
climate change could be a factor in these floods.
Right.
I mean, can we talk about that a little bit more? Because, we hear about climate change,
Yeah.
but it's like, it's hard to really see how it connects to what's happening in the world,
Right. Totally.
So, like, how does this work?
Well, okay, so basic climate science.
Yeah.
The Earth is warming up
Okay.
because of all the stuff we're doing, burning fossil fuels, all that.
Right.
And as the atmosphere gets warmer, it holds more moisture.
Okay.
So that means
Yeah.
more intense rainfall.
So it's not just that it's raining more often.
No.
It's that when it rains, it's just like,
It's a deluge.
yeah.
And that's what leads to floods.
Right.
Because the drainage systems, they just can't handle that much water.
And then on top of that, there's like rising sea levels,
Yep.
coastal erosion.
Exactly.
So all of that together
Yeah.
creates these like mega floods, like what we're seeing in Spain.
Yeah.
This is scary.
It
Like,
is.
what if this just becomes the new normal?
Well, I mean, if we don't do something about climate change,
Yeah.
that's where we're headed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what can we do? I mean, it feels so big.
It is big.
What can we do as like individuals?
Well, I mean, it's true that what one person does,
Yeah.
it might feel small.
Yeah.
But when we all start making changes,
Yeah.
that adds up.
Right.
So, I mean, we can drive less, fly less, consume less.
Okay.
You can support companies that are trying to be more sustainable.
Okay.
And, we can push for policies that support clean energy and, reduce those emissions.
That's good. Yeah. What about like bigger things?
Yeah.
Like what can governments and businesses do?
Well, I mean, governments have to step up, right?
Yeah.
Like, they need to make policies that actually reduce emissions,
Okay.
invest in renewable energy,
Right.
and help communities, adapt to the change that are already happening.
Yeah.
And businesses, they can do their part too.
Yeah.
By making their practices more sustainable,
Right.
reducing their impact,
Yeah.
investing in green technologies, all that.
It sounds like a
Yeah.
massive amount of work.
It is a massive amount of work.
But we have to do it.
We do.
Okay. So
Yeah.
political transitions in the U.S.,
Right.
humanitarian crisis in Gaza,
Yeah.
floods in Spain. That could be because of climate change.
It's a lot
It's a lot.
to digest,
Yeah.
but it's important.
It is.
We have to talk about these things.
What I'm realizing is that
Yeah.
it's so important to try to understand.
It's like everyone's perspective.
Absolutely.
I mean, whether we're talking about the
Yeah.
U.S. election or Gaza or climate change,
It's crucial.
we have
Yeah.
to listen to different points of view.
Totally.
Try to understand where everyone's coming from.
It's so easy to stay in our little bubbles
Yeah.
where everyone agrees with us,
Right.
but that's not how we make progress.
Exactly.
We have to get out of our comfort zones,
Yeah.
talk to people who think differently than we do.
Yeah.
That's how we actually
Yeah.
find solutions.
Totally. This has
Yeah.
been a lot.
Oh,
Like, I have so much to think about.
I know, me too.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to be paying a lot closer attention
Ooh,
to all of these things
yeah, stay curious.
as they develop.
Stay engaged. Keep
Yeah.
making those connections.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, like always.
Yeah, absolutely. Until next time.
Yes, see you then.
What haven't we talked about? I'm curious. Well, we've focused a lot on, like, the challenges
Right.
and the anxieties of all these transitions.
Yeah.
But I think there's something else here, too.
Okay.
Like an element of resilience,
Oh, okay.
and adaptation.
Okay.
Like, think about that Tagesschau.de article.
Yeah.
Those people in Spain, they're scared,
Right.
right,
Of course.
after those floods.
Yeah.
But they're also helping each other,
Mm.
rebuilding, figuring out how to deal with it.
Right.
Humans are pretty good at adapting.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Like, it's easy to get caught up in all the bad stuff.
It is.
But people find a way.
Yeah, they always do.
It's like these crises, they kind of show us how strong we can be,
Right. Our ability to like come together and help each other.
Exactly.
They're
Exactly.
innovative,
And
you know.
bounce back.
And it's not just individuals either.
No.
Whole societies adapt.
Oh, yeah.
Like governments make new policies, communities create warning systems.
Engineers design things that can handle, like, worse weather.
Wow.
It's happened everywhere.
It makes me think about
Yeah.
Trump coming back to the White House.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge shakeup politically.
It is.
But the U.S. system, I mean,
Right.
it's been through a lot.
It has.
Do you think maybe this could even
Yeah.
lead to some good changes?
Oh, that's
Like
interesting.
maybe it'll force people to, get more involved, like
Yeah.
in the political process,
Mhm.
demand more from their leaders.
Political scientists are going to be studying this for years.
Oh, I bet.
Trying to figure out what it all means.
Right.
It could really shake things up.
Yeah.
Lead to something we don't even expect.
Right.
Maybe even something good.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, maybe it'll force the parties to
Yeah.
actually work together,
Yeah.
Try to find solutions for the country's problems.
I guess we'll see.
We will.
But it shows that, like, even when change is, like, really disruptive, it can
Yeah.
also be a good thing.
It can. It can.
And it brings us back to, like, the
Yeah.
whole idea of transitions, right?
Exactly.
It feels like everything is changing right now.
It is. The world is in flux.
And what we do,
Yeah.
it's going to determine what happens next.
Absolutely. Individually, collectively, the choices we make, they matter.
Yeah. So as we wrap up here,
Yeah.
what are some things you hope people listening
Yeah.
will take away from this?
I hope they see how all these stories connect.
Yeah.
The election, Gaza, the floods in Spain.
Right. They're not just random events
No, they're all part of this
Yeah.
bigger picture.
of the world we're living in right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember we can do things.
We can. We can
make choices
Absolutely.
that, help create a better world.
Yes, a more just world, a more sustainable world, a more peaceful world.
This has been really eye-opening.
Good.
I've got a lot to think about.
I know, me too.
I'm going to be watching all of this very closely.
Good. Stay curious, stay engaged.
Thank you so much for,
Yeah.
talking us through all of this.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, like always.
Until next time.
Yes. See you then. If you enjoy our daily news podcast and want to stay updated, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell for notifications. Your support really helps us bring you the latest news every day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.